Hello. This is AJT500 slash Challenger Track 98 slash Eloise Wonderwise slash Hilo slash Sarasa's Cake Heart. And this is the look at Viper for Dancing Mad Ultimate. I like to do these types of videos after we beat Ultimates, where I kind of go over some of my thought processes for some of the stuff I did on whatever job I was playing for that Ultimate. I finally got to beat and prog a Ultimate on Viper because Brew brought me to Ninja instead of Viper, but I got to play Viper on this. Huge shout outs to my team. I'm glad we got it done. Thanks for dealing with all my mishaps throughout the prog. But I'm not going to really say it was fun because high key I was losing my thinking mind during some points. But I mean, it was okay. Thanks to Suko to being the stream manager, by the way. That was a lot of honestly, that was pretty fun. That did ease the stress a little bit with the funny stuff he was doing on stream and stuff like that. And everybody who just supported us in general as we were progressing through it and just hanging out in the stream. So I don't know how long this video is going to be. I don't have like a lot of stuff to say about this. I feel like there's not really that much crazy stuff. Honestly, for Viper for this fight, you kind of just hit the bosses. But there is some stuff I want to go over. So it's mostly going to be like rotational wise. I mean, I don't got no thinking. I don't got no party cooldowns besides faint. So it's it's literally just like, okay. I guess one thing, let's just start at the beginning, right? So originally, as we were progressing through the fight, we didn't really know what was all coming in the fight, right? So I'll start off with pot timings. I would heavily recommend that you pot. Honestly, okay, here's the thing. You can pot whenever you want based on your group. Because when I first started, I potted at the very start, right? The normal Viper opener with potion, I did that. And then Suko helped me with a 4-minute potion because the potion at the end of P2 was kind of whack for me because when we were first doing it, it was like I wasn't even getting all my burst in it. So he helped me do a 4-minute one, which essentially the way you do the 4-minute one is you do your 2-minute, you do your little snake buff, and you only do one reawaken, and then you save the 50 gauge, then you build up to 100 gauge, and then you do a potion double reawaken there, right? And that was good. Honestly, I think that was pretty good for our damage. Having me do that type of potion, it did help a lot as we got used to Forsaken. I will say though, the issue with it is it's kind of complicated. Like trying to get your gauge in the perfect like spot with your buffs in the perfect spot while you're doing Forsaken, and assuming you're doing this potion, you're still learning Forsaken, can be a really hectic. It can take some getting used to be honest. So it can be rough, but you can always just like, if you forget or you like mess it up or something, you can always just pot at the very end like everybody else. You can do that. But what I would say overall though is I would heavily recommend that you pot at your 2-minute. You pot on the 2-minute at the start of phase 3. You pot again. You have to do like another 100 gauge potion during P4 because your 2 minutes just don't line up with how you kill Eggs, Death, and Chaos. And then in P5, you just pot at the very end. Those, in my opinion, I think are the best potions you can do. But I think you can kind of swap around your potion during prog as you need it until you start getting to the later phases, is what I'm trying to say. So you get to the later phases, right? So I'll just start with that because the potion is kind of something that, it builds on each other. Like, when you first use the next one determines when you can use the next one in blase, right? So the main thing I want to talk about rotationally for P1, right, is I want to talk about a delayed uncoiled fury. Because this may not affect your group if you do. This is mostly for the puddle dropping. If you do the puddle dropping thing in like, if you do it like all stacked up as 8 in melee range, you probably don't care about this. But if you do it the same type of way we did it, where it's like you had one set of 2 puddles and then you had to walk back and take another set of 2 puddles. If you do it like that, this can be very applicable to you. And pretty much what this is this is set up essentially. I'll show you what happens, right? And this also only really happens. Also, I'm gonna turn this down. This also only really happens if you also do our lineup for the spreads at the start, right? So like if you do your spreads kind of like how we did here, where it's like just a line across, in the situation that you get a tower or Al gets a tower or whoever's, you know, here and here, this is fine. Your rotation can work as normal, right? But if you have to take your DPS towers back here, especially if you got to take this one back here, like if that's your assigned one, right? This is the old rotation I had. So what I would do as Viper is I'm like, okay, I have to go out. Let me pop Uncoil Fury right here, right? So that I don't miss any GCDs. Now, the issue with this, though, is this puts you one Uncoil Fury behind, and I'll show you how this plays out. So I'll just go a little bit more ahead to where the puddles are, right? So when you get to these puddles, when you go out here to drop the puddles, you want to use an Uncoil Fury here, right? So now you're down, you lost one earlier because you had that out. Now you just lost another one, right? So now you're only at one Uncoil Fury. You come back in, you can get another one back up off of this, right? But the thing about it is if you get out, if you get the double out, so you get an out at the start for the towers, and then you get out here as well, you want to drop two Uncoil Furies while you're out here. And this is still, right now, you're still fine, right? The issue becomes with these puddles, because once you start doing the confetti and you get pushed to the other side and you have to go all the way back, this is when we were still doing the Venn diagram type puddles. But now what we do is we just go into the first one and then we go into the second one. But this is just to say it's the same thing regardless. You'll see that I am now in a position where I'm out of the boss, like I can't hit the boss, and I am out of Uncoil Furies, right? Until I hit this snake buff here. But the thing about it is once you hit this snake buff, at that point you already want to just go back and reawaken, right? So how do we avoid this, right? Well, what we use is Vice Winder to actually slow down our GCD. So I'm just gonna skip ahead to an actual pull like later on, right? That has the same type of thing, right? With the towers. So this, if you have the towers here, what you do is instead of hitting this Uncoil Fury, what I do instead is I actually sit on this Vice Winder until the very end. Right, so I do this combo here, then I'll do another normal combo right here. I also pop True North right here, right before this ender, so that I can actually do. Let me show you, because this is some backwards stuff. Usually, when you use Vice Winder, what you want to do is you want to get the buff that is lower first, the first one that you press, as opposed to the one that has the longer buff, right? But I'm actually going to do it opposite because of how we are positioned on the boss. I want to use that True North on my back positional on the side. And then once my True North falls off, I can just hit the side positional right here, right? So essentially I'm hitting True North for this because sometimes you may be coming from like this way or this way or this way or this way. And you may not be able to hit this back positional off your normal combo. So I press True North there. Then I come over here and I've saved up this extra Vice Winder for this situation. When I have to go out, I press Vice Winder and you see it slows down the GCD, because remember, these are a slower GCD than these. So it slows down the GCD and then I can come back and hit this one. And again, I start with the back positional here because I still have this True North and we're lined up like this where I can't just easily go and hit a back positional. That's the reason why I use the True North for the normal combo and for that. And then once it falls off right here, it doesn't matter because I'm already on the side and I can just hit this one. But that's how you get around this Uncoil Fury, because now you'll see how this plays out. Now I didn't use an Uncoil Fury there, which means I have an extra one for later, right? So then we go to the same instance where I go out here and I'm going to drop an Uncoil Fury right here. Come back in, get another one.
Fruits of my labor.
I think I'm literally talking about it in this clip. So then after this, I'm gonna get another out. So this is a double out situation, right? Double out situation.
Oh, God bless.
And then over here, yeah, I'm literally talking about it in this.
Yes.
And then I have the double out. And now I have one more Uncoil Fury for when I get pushed in a second right here.
Yes, that feels so good.
And once I go out, now I have an Uncoil Fury right here for when I'm out of the boss and I don't affect my snake buff at all. So that's essentially how you get around that Uncoil Fury, is simply don't use it. Use your Vice Winder instead to slow down the GCD so that you can get an Uncoil Fury out here, assuming you get a situation where you have 3 outs. Again, this also doesn't really matter. Again, if you do like all your puddles in melee range, it doesn't matter as much. But that is how you get around this. And I always do the same rotation pretty much every single time. So even if we didn't have an out right here, like DPS wasn't out, I would still just drop these 2 Uncoil Furies here anyway. That way your rotation is literally the exact same every single time, right? So that being said, I wanted to go over that. I made this little video first because I wanted to go over that and I want to show the different sides of what can happen if you use an Uncoil Fury during that first out, how it can affect the rest of the rotation. So now I'm going to go into the clear video and we'll just go through the rest of the stuff I want to talk about. Okay, so this is the clear video. So again, I'm not going to play through all this stuff. I don't want to take like too much time on this because again, there's not like a ton of stuff to talk about. Honestly, with Viper, you kind of just play Vipe. Just play Vipe and you'll be all right. You'll be all right. But I do want to bring to attention my my potion, right? So this is as we get pushed back, and this is the clear VOD again, so you'll see the actual thing. So the way I do this, and I think I'm actually in on this one. So yeah, you can see here, just like I was saying a second ago, that I use those 2 Uncoil Furies regardless of if I have to go out or not. So pretty much the way that I do this here is right before this pushback on this GCD. Essentially, I'm trying to make it so that I have as little double weaves as possible here. So what I do is on this GCD, once I get to this GCD right here, I literally potion after that, get push, do this GCD, snake buff, Uncoil Fury, and then I come back and then go directly into my 2 minutes with a feint right there. That's pretty much how I do it. And then I just do my 2 minutes right there. That's how I avoid like double weaving potion with like the death rattle, or with like triple weaving with like Uncoil Fury or anything like that. I just do it on that GCD as I get pushed back. And then I go into my 2 minutes here. Also, I guess this is another thing too. I debated a lot on where to put True North for this, because the thing about here is I do put a True North here, and it's mostly for this Vice Winder combo, because sometimes depending on whoever's tanking the boss here, depending on what arrows they get, sometimes the boss just flips to a side and then you miss one of the positionals on Vice Winder. So after this 2 minute, I just go straight into True North and I just do that GCD, even though it doesn't matter. And then I do these 2. He may swap right here too. We can actually maybe see. Yeah, you see that? You see how he just flips like that? Sometimes he flips like that as you're trying to do your positional, and then you get cooked. Now, the other thing here is pretty much when you get to this point here, you kind of have a choice, because you have one more True North, right? So you can either True North this GCD right here if needed, because again, sometimes the boss is like looking that way and you have a side positional. I guess this also matters on where you put your confetti placements. Our confetti placements was always 2-4, so this was just always the alignment. But I guess it's always gonna kind of potentially screw you, even if it was like this. Like, as long as you're across from each other, it's always gonna be kind of weird. But yeah, like depending on if the boss is available, you may not need to True North here for this GCD. But the reason why I bring it up is because he's also about to go into the statue thing with the stacks or spreads in the lightning or out of the lightning. And the thing about it is having True North for a Vice Winder combo there and a finisher is kind of really nice, but you kind of have to choose between that spot or this spot. Sometimes I would choose this spot and I would just True North to get this GCD. But honestly, by the end of Prague, I just said screw it. If the boss wasn't available to get this positional, I just said screw it and just let it leak, because I would rather the consistent 3 positionals with the Vice Winder and the and the finisher, as opposed to trying to get that one and then trying to squeeze in 3 while I'm doing the other stuff. Also, I want to note here, I didn't get it in this VOD, but if you get, so this is like, if you get like no out patterns whatsoever, if you get pushed like perfectly on your confettis, if you get sleep during this part, if you get like no outs during Forsaken, you can technically get 1 extra GCD on Viper. 1 extra GCD, and it's like right here. It's like right here is the determining factor. Like right here when you go to sleep. If you go to sleep right here and you're able to get this GCD, you're on track to get that one last GCD. The reason why this one last GCD matters is because technically at the end of Kefka P2, before he goes into P3, there's a lot of times where you'll end up on the second part of your normal combo and he just disappears. But if you are fast enough and you have no like out patterns, you can actually get that GCD. Unironically, with how I ended up doing stuff, I kind of don't even really mind that I don't get the GCD, but it's just something I want to tell you because sometimes your rotation will change depending on how in you were for mechanics. Your rotation will change just slightly, or you'll have slightly more gauge. So it's just something to know. I guess the main thing too is like, if you think you get a GCD before a mechanic goes off, try and get the GCD. Yeah, you might actually be on track for the extra one. But anyway, going past this, I did want to show this thing I was talking about real quick after the sleep right here. So essentially, once you come out of here, this is the last place where you could use True North, and there's 3 positionals that you could do right here. So it's kind of just nice to have the True North for like this part as opposed to having it for that 1 GCD, because you see how I'm like stuck on the side right there because of how the spread was. So that's what I want to say. Now for Forsaken, I don't have a lot to say about Forsaken. The main thing I have to say about Forsaken, honestly, is really take advantage of any free positionals that pop up, by the way, because sometimes depending on where your baits are and you know, where your position needs to be, the boss might be open for one of your positionals. So if it's open, take it and don't use the True North. Because the thing about it, the thing with this phase is you are all over the place and the boss is all over the place and the tank is all over the place. So it's very hard to consistently get your positionals at all times. So you really have to be smart about your True North. Really try and make sure that you're doing True North. Pretty much you want to be on the second step of your combo going into the third and do a Vice Winder and then True North, so that you do your 2 hits and then that combo finisher, and then you can go all the way around and do another combo during that True North. That's what you want to try and do, like as much as possible. Because otherwise you're going to be missing positionals constantly. It's wild. Also, really utilize your Uncoil Fury. Uncoil Fury is huge for this phase for keeping uptime. I will say though, even for stuff like Vice Winder and Reawaken, if you use one of those moves, you can actually hit the follow-up hits even at the back of the tower. Even if you can't hit the actual GCD. So like if you hit like this GCD, like the Swiftsin coil or whatever, or the Hunter's coil, if you hit that as you're walking out, you can still hit the off GCDs as you're leaving because of the range. So that's kind of something that's good to know. But honestly, Forsaken is mostly just a do as much as you can type thing. Do as much as you can. You do also get 1 Reawaken in here outside of the 2-minute that you can also utilize to avoid positional requirements as you're moving around and stuff like that. I do want to show you too at the start. I'm very greedy about this first positional here. And hopefully I actually hit it in the seeking video. But I usually end up with this positional right here. Like I'll look for where I need to go, but I'm very greedy about getting that 1 positional right there. That 1 positional right there, I'm very greedy about getting that so that I can start off like on a good foot and I don't have to worry about trying to get that positional later. So I'll go and get this positional before I move to my spot, like every single time. Also, another thing I wanted to mention back in phase 1, I forgot about this, but it made me think of it. For this part right here, there's a positional. This is also another part where early on I used True North solely for this back positional right here. You actually can get this back positional and not screw over your group, even if you have to go north. The thing about it though is when you go for it, try and go like this. Try and go as up into the boss as possible. Don't stand all the way in the back. Go as up into the boss as possible when you're trying to go for this positional. And then you can get it right here and then go to your spot north in time to not screw over everybody. That's what I want to say. So that's also another positional thing that you can do to avoid using a True North for that GCD. There was something else with that GCD too, but I can't remember what it was. I can't remember what it was. I don't remember. I don't remember what it was. There was something else with that GCD. Yeah. So one thing, this is kind of just for this phase in general, right? If you end up at any point before this first bait, if you end up behind for whatever reason, like your button didn't go off for a second, you pulled the boss, like you jumped on the boss slowly later than when it got pulled, like something like that. Right here, when I go out, I do Uncoil Fury into a dash back, right? If for any reason, and you'll trust me, you'll be in here long enough that you'll get the hang of it. You'll know what I'm talking about if you do the same type of rotation, right? If you get into a situation where you're ever too slow, like you're really slow or you're a GCD behind or whatever, instead of doing that dash and standing in this portal for like 50 years, just walk up. Literally just walk up. If you ever end up behind in your rotation during that Uncoiled Fury where this is going to go off, and if you, because the reason why I bring this up is because you can get cast locked in this puddle. You can get cast locked in this puddle because of, like, watch this. I do Uncoil Fury, I hit both of my buttons, and you see how I'm spamming this dash, right? And it's not going off yet. It's not going off yet because it has to finish the Uncoiled Fury animation and the 2 off GCDs before you can do that. So if you're ever behind, you will literally just be stuck in that portal so long that you might explode it. And then you'll end up even further behind. But you can actually catch back up on your rotation if you simply just walk in instead of trying to do the dash and getting stuck in the dash animation. You can literally just walk in. So that's one thing I want to bring up too about this part. If you ever end up behind, just walk back in. But I think that's pretty much it through like Forsaken. Again, with Forsaken, it's mostly just trying to utilize the True North as much as you can. Now I do want to note here, this is also one of those things that kind of has to do with how you're progging, like where you are in the fight, right? Because if you're just trying to prog to get to P3, I don't know if I'd necessarily recommend this until you're starting to get ready to, your team is much more comfortable on Forsaken. Your damage is better on Kefka part 2, and you're trying to push a clear on phase 3, right? So what I do at the end of P2 is I actually do not double reawaken for this 2 minute. What I do is I literally save this gauge, and I only reawaken once I get my snake buff. Then I reawaken here, and then I just save. I save all this gauge right here, right? I save all this gauge. And this is also the GCD that I was talking about. Sometimes you can actually finish this whole combo right here. If you have like no out patterns whatsoever, you can finish this last combo and get up to 90 gauge. But I stayed at 80. And again, this is what I was saying before. This is the reason why I actually kind of like not getting it, because I like the even 80 instead of overcapping on gauge. But yeah, I hold this gauge to go into P3 so that once we go into P3, I can reawaken on Chaos here because we needed extra damage on this phase. We didn't need more damage on the Forsaken phase. Right. So I like to come in here with a reawaken at the very start. Also, if you're not doing the tank LB strat, unironically do the tank LB strat, especially on Viper. You really want these bosses together for the 2 minute. I'm gonna be so for real. You really want them together for the 2 minute. You really want them together for the 2 minutes so that you can just so that you can just go crazy on them right here. This is also where I put my second potion right here. I'll just let this play out for a little bit. Pretty much right here, I go this next GCD potion, this GCD snake buff, then X Death is coming back in, reawaken, and then 2 minute, and I cleave both of them right here. So this is what I like to do for the 2 minute ever since we swapped to the strat, and since I swapped my potion to this phase. So yeah, I like doing that. I like doing that. You can also, the other thing too is you can also utilize your Uncoil Furies when you get pushed back here. This should be obvious, but when you get pushed back here, you can use Uncoil Furies, and then also when you separate from the bosses to actually do your thing, you can do Uncoil Furies as well. Assuming they're actually in range, you can just spam Uncoil Fury here. So try and save some for this downtime. The last thing here is pretty much I like to, once I get into like this turret mode on Uncoil Fury, I like to drop a True North, and this True North pretty much makes it so that I can get my speed buff back up. Like you see that True North right there. I'm going into full turret mode right here until this is finished. Then I jump in, and then I have that True North for right there, so I don't have to worry about the positional. And then usually I'm always on Chaos for this, and our Chaos tank is the one that takes the first buster. So I'm always looking for Chaos on the second one to get that side positional as he's walking across the screen towards X-Death. And then also this last thing is once you get this reawaken, you can get between both of them just to hit both of them with the reawaken, and then I spread off to actually go on the boss that I want to be on. Now for black holes, I'm gonna be real. Black holes is kind of like Forsaken, where it's like just do your best. This is another phase where the bosses are all over the place. You're all over the place. Sometimes you just get cooked out of positionals. You can't necessarily get them all the time. So just do your best with the True North. Again, kind of same rule of thumb as in Forsaken. Always try and use a True North at the end of a combo, plus using Vice Grinder, so you're at least guaranteed all three of those. Plus the next combo as well. And also try to utilize your reawakens too. You get like one reawaken here. Technically you can get two, which is also another thing I should bring up. At the very end of this phase, pretty much I use this as like a trump card, essentially. Right here, this gauge for reawaken, you don't need to use this if your damage is good. But as you're progging, and especially my rule was pretty much if someone died or got a damage down, I just let it rip. If someone died or got a damage down, I use this extra gauge to use a reawaken. As you can see here, we do not need it. They're already kicking dead. So you can just take this into the next phase and it's a-okay. But if you need that gauge, it is available to you. Now, going into this phase, this is kind of whack because this is the one where you have to do the double reawaken potion, because as you can see, my potion is not back yet because of where I use it in P3, right? But you want to use a potion on this phase to make sure you actually beat this DPS check, because this DPS check can be tight. So the thing about it is essentially what I'll do is I usually like to come in here with this 100 gauge, because again, I don't use that reawaken at the end of P3. And pretty much I just do my snake buff into another 50 gauge because this is where all the raid buffs are. So I try and do that. But then I build back up to 100 gauge during this phase. And then I do my potion. Now I'm going to tell you, this is whack, because not only is it whack because you actually have to like build your gauge all the way up to 100, right? But the other thing is you could get something like this, right? You see how I just potted and then my shriek is a lookout shriek? Sometimes you just get straight up screwed on this. Sometimes you just get straight up screwed on this. But it's like, that's the only real place you can potion. So you kind of just got to deal with it. But yeah. So, I mean, that's pretty much it for P4 though. I mean, there's not really anything to talk about with this in terms of Viper. Again, a lot of the Viper stuff in here is just play Viper. Just play Viper, bro. Like, yeah, if you know how to play Viper, if you're in this ultimate Viper, you know how to play Viper. That's all you really need, bro. That's all you really need. And also, you see, I had another lookout right there too, which sucks. But Honestly, you know, the crazy thing about it. Okay, I do have one extra thing. Hold on. Okay, I forgot. There is one extra thing in P5 that I want to talk about. So I went back and forth with myself a lot about this snake buff right here. Because as you see here, with the way this works, with the way this 2-minute works, right? With the way this works, this snake buff comes up at the very end. He's at 29% right now. He needs to get to 25. And I'm already in a reawaken right here from my gauge being 100%, right? He is literally dead right now, and my snake buff just came up. So the question becomes, do you just use snake buff right here just for the heck of it? Or do you try and, the thing I was trying to do was I was trying to use it early, because remember, snake buff lasts for 30 seconds. I was trying to use it early going into this phase to try and make it so that I could use it 3 times during P5. I do not think it is timely possible. I don't think you could fit it in, because here in the clear VOD you can see that I held it all the way until the actual 2 minutes came up, when everyone else's 2 minutes came up. And the thing about it is, you can see at the end of the fight, here, it literally comes up. I've already started a reawaken before it even comes up. That's how late it comes back if you use it on that 2 minute. So I don't think it's possible to get 3. I don't think it's possible to get 3. Now, the thing about it is, I think you should just hold it. The only other thing I could potentially see, and I maybe I have to look back and math this out, but even this, I don't even know if it's possible with this. And the thing about it is, your kill times on this are so, like, they can be so wacky on this. But even this, I mean, I press it pretty early. Like, we kill this boss, and I pressed it before we even killed it, and it's still not going to be fast enough. You know what I mean? So I don't think it's possible. So what I would say for the snake buff timing is just save it. Just save it for the 2 minute. Just save it for the 2 minute. When you come into P5, just get your buffs up like normal. Just ignore it and just wait. And just worry about getting your Vice Winder not. That's what I would say. Because like I said, I don't think you can squeeze 3. Maybe I'm wrong. I kind of suck at the game, so maybe I'm wrong. Maybe someone else can math it out and figure it out, but I don't know. I tried for like a day just thinking about it and looking through VODs and stuff, but once we finally got towards that enrage, I was like, yeah, I'm glad I figured out to just hold it, because it wasn't going to come back up in time. It wasn't going to come back up in time for the end. Now, for this phase, the one thing that I can say besides that is don't drop your peaking buffs. Don't drop your buffs, because as you can see at the very end here, I had the LB, right? Now, the thing about it, I will say it's kind of cooked, because you can see our LB bar is not high until the end, right? Until the end. I saw in, I think it was DN's group, they LB'd after like the second, wherever the out thing is. Where's that thing at? Is it here? No, this is exit flares. This thing. They used it like after this. So like pretty much right here, they went in LB right here. We do not have LB bar here. We do not have LB bar here. So if you don't have LB bar there, you're probably not going to be able to use it until this last dodge, right? So the thing about it is, my buffs ended up falling off. And then, again, this is the first time we actually saw like a clean enrage. So I wasn't really prepared for this, to be honest. So what I did was I just said screw it, and I just kept going with my reawakens, which turned out to be the right play anyway, because my buffs literally fell off like before the second reawaken. And you see here, I tried to go for a Vice Winder. I literally had a choice right here in the middle of the road. I said, hey, should I go for this Vice Winder, or should I go for the reawaken, right? I tried it, and then I was like, nah, I'm gonna just try and finish it, bro. I'm gonna just try and finish it. Screw the buffs. And I just went and reawaken and just went through it. And again, that was the right choice, because we killed the Vice, right? But what I would heavily recommend, honestly, is I think what you should probably do is I used this Vice Winder that I had at the start of Forsaken extremely early. Extremely early. I don't think you should do that. I don't think you should do that. What I think you should do here is instead of using this Vice Winder right here, instead of using this Vice Winder, you should just reawaken right here. Because you'll see what I do is I go into this combo, then I do Vice Winder, then I reawaken after the Vice Winder, right? So essentially I get into a situation where I come out of a reawaken, then I LB, and then I'm trying to double reawaken like right after that. Like you see how we're going through right here, going through right here, going through right here, go through this, and then I immediately LB here, and then I come through and I try and do my double reawaken. What I would recommend instead is on this dodge here, do your reawaken after this combo instead. That's what I think you should do. Because essentially what would happen is I would come out of this reawaken and then I'd be able to do my Vice Winder combo. Then I'd be doing my Vice Winder combo like right here. Then you LB, then you double reawaken. That's what I think you should do. And I think that would solve at least the vast majority of your buff problems. They would be much closer to staying up at least the whole time. Because even with this one, with it falling off, especially if I didn't press this Vice Winder here, you would have had the extra GCD. Honestly, your buffs would have lasted the entire second reawaken. Even if they fall off at the very end, they would have lasted. So I think that's how I should have done it. But again, this was our first clean in Rage. I think this is the first in Rage where I was even alive. I was so mad because I kept dying early and I was trying to figure out the 3 snake buff thing and I couldn't see the timers and stuff because I kept dying early. But yeah, but that's the main thing for P5 is 2 snake buffs, and try and end on Vice Winder before your LB. That's what I think you should do. But anyway, that being said, again, this one isn't supposed to be too long. I don't know how long it actually is. I'm not timing myself right now, but that's pretty much it for this video. Again, there's not like a lot of stuff about Viper in this. It's kind of one of those things where, again, if you're playing Viper in this fight, you probably at least know somewhat how to play Viper. You pretty much just play Viper pretty similarly to how you do normally. But it is very good for Uncoil Fury. Uncoil Fury is huge in this. You get a lot of usage out of Uncoil Fury. I guess another thing too, I didn't get it. I don't think I got it in this run. Yeah, I got 2 in this run. If you get 3 on this run, the way we do 3 is we have 3 just like essentially like go in the corner and just not cleave anybody. 3 is like huge Uncoiled Fury uptime. Because I just don't even care about the bosses. I'm just trying not to cleave anybody. So I just get the crap away and just spam Uncoiled Fury. Uncoiled Fury, still probably my favorite move in the entire game. I love Uncoiled Fury. It's such a good button. So much damage, so much mobility, so much freedom. But yeah, again, if you know how to play Viper, you'll be able to pick up this fight. This fight is very, very well made for Viper, as opposed to Fru, where Fru, a lot of people, if you tried Viper and Fru, you would know that Viper kind of sucked for like the first like phase. It really sucked for like Thancred. And it got better as the fight went on, especially when you get to like the cleave part on Gaia and Rin, and then the last phase where you get reawakens during the dodges, so it's just like you're being chilly. Like Viper scales really good in Fru, but it's not really good at the start. In this, it's good from the start. It's very good from the start. It's a very strong jaw. A lot of people picked up Viper for this fight. It's very good with all the mobility. And it's mostly because of Uncoil Fury, and I would also say to a lesser extent Reawaken. Reawaken, in the same way that it makes the Fru dodges very easy, it makes a lot of the movement in this very easy. The one thing I will say about Reawaken though is Forsaken. During Forsaken, when you're reawakening, be cognizant of where you actually are, because this is a very pixel perfect-esque mechanic. And with you dashing all around like this, it can be kind of hard to actually know where your character is. To do like these movements, it can be kind of hard. So just really hone in on like where your character actually is. Make sure that you're in a tower when you need to be in one, and you're not out of a tower when you need to be out of one. Or in one. Whatever I just said, just make sure you're in the right spot. That's what I'm trying to say. Just make sure you're in the right spot. Because especially when you have like these let me see if I can find one. I want to see if I can find a part where I'm like underneath the boss.
After this.
That's what I want to see.
Swap.
Okay, I think on this pass, you could see it. Although I'm not in Reawaken right here.
Check your head.
So like here, when you're in Reawaken during this spot, I might actually end up in Reawaken on this. Yeah, right here. When you have to go underneath the boss and in between a tower and you're Reawaken, it can be very hard. I noticed Saffron is Niu from our group. I noticed there were a few times that Niu would dodge back and forth because she couldn't tell where I was. She couldn't tell where I was actually standing at to stack with me because you're just jotting all over the place. You're jotting all over the place. And again, I mean, it's the same Reawaken that we're used to, but being in such close corners, especially as a speaking Lalafell, bro, it can be easy to lose yourself. So just be cognizant of where you actually are when you're doing Reawaken during Forsaken. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it for this. Again, there's not a lot of stuff to talk about with Viper in this. You kind of just play your game, TBH. So anyway, again, thanks to my team for dealing with my nonsense. Thanks for everyone that hung out and watched the stream, supported us throughout. It was a very hard prog. I think this is the hardest ultimate in general. I know it's always really easy to say that for the newest one that came out, but I think this one was pretty difficult, and it was pretty. I feel like everyone kind of got strained, not just in my group, in other groups as well. I've talked to a lot of people from different groups, and everyone kind of has been feeling it. Everyone has kind of been feeling it. This ultimate prog. So, yeah. Again, that's pretty much it. Will I play another ultimate? Find out in the next episode of Dragon Ball Z. But for now, we're going to try and do these reclears and then chill out for like a year until Evercold. Maybe I'll think, about doing some other stuff then. We'll see. But again, thanks for watching. Thanks for the support as always. And I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.